Hello, and welcome to Global Talent Link's IABC BookQuest of The Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank. To begin, I want you to think about why you chose this BookQuest. If you chose The Diary of a Young Girl, I imagine that you are very interested in learning about history. Anne Frank's diary provides us with an authentic piece of history. It gives us the first-hand account of a 13, 14-year-old girl living during the World War II and the Holocaust. Now, this is just one story and one account from that time period, but it's pretty unique to be able to hear about history from the perspective of someone living during it. I also want to know, are you interested in writing? Have you ever thought about writing a book? Maybe you have experienced things in your life that others could relate to. Depending on where you live and your experience with the coronavirus pandemic, you could write about it, and students 10, 20 years from now could be able to read about what is going on during this time period. On our BookQuest, we will read, we will discover things about ourselves, we will share, discuss parts of the story, and hopefully you're going to have fun while meeting some new friends. For whole group activities, we will use breakout rooms. We will also go on web quests and watch videos that'll take us back in time and around the world. And we may even do some acting. During this book quest, I also hope that you will understand some more about history and literature, as well as discovering about yourself. We will keep our own diary, just like Anne Frank did. And I want you to understand about the IABC principles that are at play during this book and how they connect with what we know about our life. To start, we have a KWL chart. For K, I want you to think about what you already know about Anne Frank, World War II, the Holocaust, perhaps Europe, particularly Germany, the Netherlands. Maybe you've learned about these things in school, from reading other books, or from talking to people. I also want you to think about the W. What do you want to know about Anne Frank? What do you want to know about World War II and the Holocaust? At the end of this book class, we will look at the L, and we will think about what we learned about Anne Frank, World War II, and the Holocaust. And even, what did you learn about yourself? While you're reading The Diary of a Young Girl, I want you to think about the emotions you have while reading her diary entries. How do they make you feel? Excited? Scared? Anxious? Do you laugh out loud? I also want you to make connections. As I said, we are all experiencing the coronavirus pandemic. Can you make connections between what you're experiencing and have experienced since around March to this book? And does this book make you think differently about yourself and the world? Anne Frank experienced prejudice, anti-Semitism. Do you have any experiences to that? Maybe unconsciously, you have treated someone differently based on what they looked like. The Diary of a Young Girl was written by Anne Frank, a Jewish teenager living in Holland in the early 1940s. Her family was forced into hiding when Anne's older sister Margot received an order to report to a labor camp. For 2 years, the Franks and 4 others live in the secret annex, a section of Anne's father's office building. Anne Frank kept this diary, chronicling her time in isolation, in fear of being caught and killed. While reading the diary entries, you'll see that she's experiencing typical teenage emotions, but also dealing with atypical teenage things. Rationing food, anti-Semitism, a war. Here we have a video to learn a little bit more about Anne Frank, the author. In this video, you'll be introduced to Anne Frank, the others who lived with her in hiding, and the helpers who risked their own lives to save the people in hiding. This will also give us some information about the time period, what is going on during World War II and the Nazi occupation. Your writing journey. While we are reading The Diary of a Young Girl, we're going to keep our own journal or diary. Have you ever, or do you currently write in a journal? If you want, you can keep one on the computer, maybe using Google Docs, or grab a notebook and you can keep a paper and pen version as well. In your journal, every week, we will have a writing prompt that you can share with us during our next session. If you want, you can also use your journal to take notes while you're reading Diary of a Young Girl. For our next session, I would like for you to read June 14th, 1942, up to and including October 20th, 1942. I am using the July 1993 version of the Diary of a Young Girl. There are some different publications that may have other journal dates. So just try and, if you're using a different version, to try and kind of stay with us. For your first diary or journal entry, I want you to think back to those first couple of weeks of being home during the COVID-19 quarantine. I want you to think about how you were feeling when school was going to be closed for 2 weeks. What were some of the things that you did while you were at home? Did you experience different emotions during those first couple of weeks? For a bonus, I would like for you to write down a question or more about the chapters that we're reading. And then next session, we can talk about those as well. I look forward to reading this book with you and just having some great discussions. Until next time.